going on, people? It's that dude named Dave, and I am back with another video. Before we get started here, just need you guys to do a few things for me. Comment, like, subscribe, and click on that bell notification below. I am on the road to 20,000 subscribers. It's a big goal, large goal, but it's my goal. Also, you can show your support by the super feature with that $ flashing down there. Super chat, super thanks, super stickers. We also got the Cash App in the description box, $ that dude named Dave. And we also got the members groups when we do our live streams. Hey guys, I'm just trying to keep the lights on. Anyways, you don't care about me and that stuff here. The reason why you clicked on this video. Some of you guys may know from the tribe, but anybody that's new here, I'm here in Chicago. I am seeing all the ups and downs that's going on in this city here, especially during this election cycle. Now, of course, we've seen Kamala Harris crash and burn in this election campaign, but she did win Illinois by 4 points. But if anybody knows the history of politics in Illinois, this vote was a lot closer than it's supposed to be because Illinois is normally a Democratic state and it's a guarantee. But with all the issues that's been happening lately, our previous mayor that we had, Lori Beetlejuice Lightfoot, and now currently we have Brandon Johnson in place here. And in less than a year, he has done such horrendous things, especially handling the migrant situation here, where we just have such an influx where that it doesn't make any sense here. So the question is Chicago really turning red, or was this a flash in the pants election here? Well, I'm here to tell you, this is not a one-off here. I want to get to the video in Fox News so we can try to make this make sense.
Brandon Johnson have ignored every plea, call, cry. You're going to protect the undocumented while you're going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer.
You ain't going to abide by what the president of the United States said. Everybody know better than that. Loser, get rid of the illegals.
Illinois is turning purple. We're going to turn red.
Ooh, Chicago residents tearing into Mayor Brandon Johnson at a heated city council meeting last week, accusing the mayor of prioritizing the needs of illegal immigrants over U.S. citizens in Chicago. Tio Hardiman, executive director of Violence Interrupters, joins us now. It doesn't seem to be a popular guy, Tio, with many constituents. Who exactly does he represent these days?
Right now, Mayor Brandon Johnson, he represents himself and his party, because a lot of the people in Chicago are frustrated with his performance so far as the mayor, especially when it comes down to the migrant issue here in Chicago.
So what exactly is it that the constituents are upset about?
Well, African-American people have been deprived of resources for decades in Chicago. If you travel to the south and west side of Chicago, you know you can count thousands of abandoned buildings, a lot of people living in poverty, and people are just upset because there appears to be a priority for the migrants compared to prioritizing some of the issues of single African-American women that have been living like in homeless situations. We had over 60,000 homeless people living in Chicago before the migrants came to Chicago. And the homeless people here were never a priority until the migrants came to Chicago, and they're still not a priority even to this date. That's the reason why a lot of African-American people are upset. Hispanic people voted for Donald Trump as well in Chicago because some Hispanic people are upset. And people need to understand this. What Donald Trump is doing here, what he's saying is that if you come over here legally, it's okay, but do not come to our country illegally. So I don't know why people have a problem with that, to be honest with you.
Let me comment on that, people. I appreciate all the YouTubers who are talking about Chicago. I think I can speak a lot on this because in my 24 years of my career, 17 has been in downtown Chicago. I've worked in the merchandise mart for several years. I worked in 230 North Michigan. That's the same building where actually the local Fox News affiliate is at, the major radio station WGCI. And back in 2008, when I was in that building, that was the campaign headquarters where Barack Obama is at. I've worked around the Sears Tower. I have worked in various environments, different corporations for almost a couple of decades here. And here's one thing I can talk about when it comes to homelessness. Number one, you see majority black men. That's what you're going to see. Number two, you're going to see white men. Then number three, a combination of our veterans that are in sporadic corners here. And once you understand, if you've been around Chicago long enough, you know, maybe it's the same in other cities, probably I would assume so. Everybody has like their, say, signed corners. That's their real estate. That's their home. So you're going to see the same homeless guys in certain corners. Like if you go to Jackson and LaSalle, you may see a certain person there. Or if you go a block below that in Jackson and Wells, or if you go further down State Street, you will see another guy there, and you will see the same people for years and years on end. But in the last couple of years, how is it ironic that all the black men that I've seen that are homeless men, I only see one man left, and he's on the corner of Wacker and Jackson right by Union Station, guys. The white men, they're all gone, mysteriously. All of them in the corners there. And you know what I see? I see families of migrants who are taking these corners up. So instead of having just one person who's homeless, you will see a mother with 4 kids with one that's an arm baby under 7 months old. Here's another thing too, if you ever come to Chicago here, come down to State Street. Come down by Macy's, the block over. You will see a family of 5. It's a mother of 4 of her kids. She has been there for months now. Now, it's wintertime. Today, as I'm recording this here, we had our first snowfall. But how ironic is that we just have these random situations where these homeless are gone, and then families, young kids are on these corners here. That is not a lie.
Not just Hispanic people in Chicago, but all along those counties along the border in the southern part of Texas that have been blue for so long, they went red in this election. So the president-elect ran on and was elected on a platform to start deporting a lot of these illegal immigrants, beginning with obvious criminals and the trendy Aragua gang. But the leadership there in Chicago and the state of Illinois is saying, we're going to fight them every step of the way. Listen here.
To anyone who intends to come take away the freedom and opportunity and dignity of Illinoisans, I would remind you that a happy warrior is still a warrior. You come for my people, you come through me.
This is a city that will remain a welcoming city. We're going to stand up and we're going to protect undocumented individuals.
You know,
wait. Before they continue, do you hear that? If you're watching this video and you're in Illinois, you're here in Chicago, what are they saying, my people? Because my people are my fellow Americans. My people are my FBA brothers and sisters, my foundational Black American brothers and sisters here. Our lineage, who we were living here already. We're Americans living here. We've been paying taxes here. And then we're going to hear our governor and our mayor say we're going to protect people who are not even ours. We're not even protecting our own. Is this what we voted for? We're voting for politicians to protect others and not to protect us.
A lot of people are saying that Kamala Harris lost because the Democratic Party is out of touch with what its constituents really wants. But what do you think of what the officials are saying to you?
Yeah, what people in America should understand that over 76 million people voted for Donald Trump. Also, Trump painted a very clear narrative that the Democrats have failed in the area of the economy, the conflict in the Middle East, the migrant issue, and so many other issues out there. The perceptions Democrats have truly failed. I wish the leaders in Illinois and Chicago would fight the same way for this high unemployment rate for African-American young men between the ages of 16 and 25, which is staggering. It's around 85%. You can check those numbers out. Why won't we fight to make sure these young guys are employed here in Chicago? And we have issues with gun violence all over, running rampant here in Chicago. So let's step up to the plate and be just as diligent in our efforts to kind of reverse this tide of gun violence with this illegal gun trade in Chicago as well.
So here's the dilemma with the illegal migrants. The Biden administration let about 9 million of them across the border. A good percentage of those has now taken up residence in the United States as they await asylum hearings or other legal proceedings. You can't just leave them to their own devices or they'll be starving in the streets. You've got to do something to take care of them. But at the same time, you got to look after the community that pays taxes to you and people who have been here, for generations. But the real trick here is, how do you achieve the balance between those two things, to you?
It's hard to achieve a balance because it's inhumane for some of the migrants to be in Chicago. And when they first arrived here, you had babies sitting on the streets and their parents begging for money on the street corners out of the babies had to sit down on the streets almost like 18 hours a day. And I'm not making this up. You can ride around and see what I'm talking about.
Well, I'll let them continue. That's what I was just saying a few moments ago. That's not an old news. That is still right now. Guys, this is my current reality. Not only my reality, anybody who works in Chicago works in the city, especially in downtown, what we call the Loop, okay? If you work in the Loop, you commute to the city every day, this is our reality every day, Monday through Friday, when we got to come into the office here. This is we got to see babies and seeing young mothers who are going to be cold and shivering. It was cold as hell in Chicago today, guys. That rain, the snow came in, the wind, we call that the hawk. What I'm telling you right now, if you want to come to the comment section, I'll give you street corners and I'll give you that information. You come out here, you will see it for yourself.
The conditions, cramming people up in these places here, they call them these little migrant shelters, whatever the case may be, totally inhumane. It's hard to balance because right now Chicago's facing a budget deficit, and the mayor talked about not raising property taxes, and he had to backstep a little bit recently because the city council decided not to allow him to raise property taxes. But during his campaign, he said he would never raise property taxes. Yeah. So the migrant crisis has caused a lot of ripple effects here in Chicago and across our state. So it's hard to balance because we have to get our act together in our city first before we. How could you have a sanctuary city and you're not prepared to provide sanctuary, adequate sanctuary in the first place?
Right. I hate to pause there. Our homelessness is crazy. And the fact that Mayor Brandon Adams want to make this a sanctuary city like this man is saying here, very, very, very precisely here. How are we going to be a sanctuary city when we ain't take care of our own homeless? We're just doing this on the fly. We're just trying to figure this out. This is just the left trying to do something that the voters didn't ask for.
The reason a lot of people voted for Trump as well, because millions of Americans are tired of these perfect candidates. Trump is what you call the not so perfect candidate, and he was able to identify with people from all walks of life. That's the reason Trump became the president here of the United States of America. Even though he had a whole lot of issues in his background as well, people just were tired. They're tired of people just telling them anything, and that's what's going on in Chicago right now. People are being bamboozled with the migrant crisis.
People decided that they really like the Trump policies, and we'll be watching closely to see how all of this is addressed. T.O. Hardiman, great to catch up with you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, that's done with the video here, but let's open up the dialogue. Let's open up discussion. I would love to see my Chicago residents, my Chicago FBA brothers and sisters be in the comment section here, especially if you've been out here as long. I've been here almost my entire life. And here's the one thing that we've noticed since this migrant situation has come in. There are things that are happening that there is no way if we had an influx of black people of homelessness in the exact same areas. Let me give you an example. I am not lying because anybody that's working in the city probably has a similar example. I am walking on a random Tuesday on my lunch break. And if anybody knows about Chicago lunch breaks, it is crazy during noon. So I went around like 1:30, 2 o'clock, took like a late lunch, and I am walking. I'm telling the exact street corner here on Wells and Monroe. That is in downtown Chicago under the train tracks that leads to the Brown Line. And I am walking and I see a group of migrants, homeless, on milk crates, cutting hair. I'm not lying to you. First thing I said to myself, looked around, was like, where is the outlet cord for them with the clippers to cut their hair at? And then the second thing that came to my mind was, it looked like the video from R. Kelly when he's sitting on the stoop and the girl's braiding his hair and everything like that, but the migrant version. I'm not lying about this, people. I was caught so off guard. I started calling people and texting people, and I told one of my lifelong friends, and he talked to his other friends, and they seen similar items too. They are cutting hair on milk crates on Monroe and Wells. Now, they weren't cutting hair this past week when I was downtown, but I'm just letting you know that's just one example. And if you would like, I would give you more examples of what I see when I come to work every day. What I'm talking about is we as taxpayers are paying for additional homelessness. We are paying for our resources, like they said in the video, where buildings that are supposed to be dedicated in the South Side of Chicago to be future schools that are migrant shelters. So let me get this straight here. We can't get any after-school programs. We can't get the parks opened up. We already got an overrun in the police banging the cats' heads here. We have crime on the rise here. And then when we're supposed to have schools that are supposed to be set aside here, they're put them in place for a different future voting block. That's what they're trying to do, guys. They just don't want to care about our issues and basically want to bring people in to shut us up so that these new possible voters and possible residents of the city will be able to take over and keep Chicago blue. But this is why it's not a one-off, because you're seeing these council meetings. You've seen in Dalton with what we're going on there with the Teflon mayor there that goes on. But she is in trouble too. But we're seeing all these Democratic cities in Chicago, and we're seeing how badly they're poorly run, and the people are not taking it anymore. And when I say the people, Black people, my FBA brothers and sisters, we are done being played for here. Now, even though Kamala won Illinois here by only 4 points, if you don't see these things changing here, we're going to see a big wave in 2026 midterms. And of course, whoever they're going to present in 2028, if things don't change, you're going to see Illinois not be purple like y'all saw Georgia kind of be mixed bag here the last election. Chicago is going to go to completely red. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a YouTuber out here in Chicago. Let's open up the discussion here. Comment, like, subscribe, and click on that bell notification below. I don't know what you think about if you were a Chicago resident and what's going on with the migrants and the situation that's going on here with the property taxes. What do you think about my commentary? And do you think that Chicago is going to turn red? On that note, guys, I'm that dude named Dave. See y'all later, YouTube world.